Hey there, it's Laura of Stewart-Panko.com. In this video, I'm going to share a couple of perspectives to help you cope with differences in parenting styles. If you haven't already found it, make sure you also check out the companion video, which is 10 ways you can handle unsolicited parenting advice, because that's a more practical video of some tricks and tips. And so I'll be sure to link that in the description. This video is going to be more of some overarching perspectives that can help us just cope a little bit better. All right. The reason why I got inspired to make this video is earlier this week, in one day, it came up twice with moms that I was interacting with. In the first, it was in the mom and baby group that I facilitate, and the second scenario was with a friend of mine who has 2 kids, and she was running into some friction with her mother. So I want to break a couple things down. In the mom and baby group, it's lots of moms that are new into motherhood, and especially in families where the baby is the first grandchild, we can get some interesting stuff going on. Or sometimes there was actually a mom saying about some comparison between grandchildren happening. But one of the things is, if it's somebody like a grandparent that is giving you some parenting advice that's different from your style, it might be helpful to remember they don't mean harm. It's very rare for somebody to be ill-intentioned in that setting, in that scenario, right? So if they're saying something about parenting or doing things in a particular way, they probably think it's the right thing, very genuinely. Right? So just recognizing that sometimes opens us up to be maybe a little bit less defensive or a little more creative in how we handle things. Another thing that can happen sort of in this camp about wanting to do something right is everybody wants to feel good and competent and seen. And so if it's parenting and they're sharing some information with you or doing things, it could be, hey, look, I know some stuff. I know some stuff about parenting. In that vein, especially for women, if I get serious for a second, especially for women, we have been strongly conditioned to not screw it up. One of the worst things you can be is a bad mother, right? It's a very charged part of life for us, and even more so for some of the generations that came before ours, you know, women that were being socially conditioned in the 40s and 50s and even the 60s, that message came through loud and clear. And so those are the women who are our mothers, right? And so they've been through some stuff where it matters a lot to them that they've done a good job as a mom. So if you have a difference from your mother in how you do things when it comes to parenting, it could even be misinterpreted as an implicit criticism of the mothering that she did, right? And even if that's not at all where you're going with things, sometimes it just goes through the filters that way, right? And so it could be hitting on some vulnerable, tender spots in somebody. And I'll share an example from my life. My mom apologized to me for something she had done when I was a kid, but old enough to remember, except I didn't remember at all. It was a non-issue for me. And the apology she gave me was in my 30s. So she had carried it for over 2 decades. And, you know, so we never know what's going on inside another person in that way, right? So maybe some of the difference in parenting style, especially if it becomes a point of conflict in a relationship, maybe one person or both people are dealing with some guilt or some self-doubt around, are they doing okay? In the second scenario, so I mentioned it was a friend and she has 2 kids. Her oldest is 8, and that was the child that was experiencing the most difficulty with grandma. So grandma wanted a lot of hugs and kisses and time and attention, and the 8-year-old was like, not what I'm into right now. I don't feel like hugging you. I don't feel like kissing you. I'm gonna go play. What I want to do right now is play. And it turned into a bit of a heated situation for all parties. And so grandma might have some stuff that she needs to own and take care of around appropriately getting emotional needs met. And at the same time, I'm very sure she loves her grandchildren very, very much. But for my friend, for her, it was an issue of consent. So let's look at this. In current generations of parents, we know lots more about consent, how to teach consent. Consent isn't just about sexuality. We're talking about consent in other contexts as well. And that's on our radar, and we are getting information about this stuff. Go back to our parents' generation, that really wasn't the deal, right? If anything, when it came to consent, it was very much about sexuality. And maybe we just got told about stranger danger or your private parts, and that was it. Right? Otherwise, expectations were often placed on us, give that smelly relative. I was deciding whether to go aunt or uncle on that one. Give that smelly relative a kiss, even if you don't want to. So we're seeing some clashes in the generations. And in that regard, just remember it's not anybody's fault what education they've received and what they've experienced in their socialization process. What kind of social conditioning have they been subjected to? It's going to be different from yours. We all have a unique blend of stuff, right? Between the generations, we see bigger differences. And so remember, it's not their fault the same way it's not our fault. What are our kids going to say to us, right? And so to bring some compassion and insight into these situations that might be stressing you out a bit. If you can have compassion for the other person and compassion for yourself, that's the best you can do in the situation. And as a kind of a side note in this, actually it's a pretty big piece, if it is a parent that has a different style than yours, as they're doing whatever or telling you to do whatever to your kid, it could be hitting some of your real childhood wounds. And so, yeah, it can be a little bit of a powder cake sometimes when we get into that territory. So that's where the compassion for yourself is really, really appropriate. Again, please check out the companion video for those 10 practical ways you can handle unsolicited parenting advice. And we have some overlap here. And I'm going to throw a few more links in the description. Not sure what they're going to be yet, but they're going to be nice things that will support you in your parenting. And please do take very, very good care of yourself. Be kind to yourself and be as kind as you can muster in any given moment to those who see things a little differently. Take good care.